OpenAI researchers have quit saying that the company is hiding truth. No, this isn't clickbait. This is a real article, and OpenAI have actually hid the truth this time. So, it's important you know what that truth is. So, it's this article from Wired that is pretty crazy. It talks about how an OpenAI staffer quits, alleging that the company's economic research is drifting into AI advocacy. So, essentially what they're saying is that four sources close to the situation, probably OpenAI insiders, have basically started claiming that OpenAI is hesitant to publish the research, the real research, because it's so negative on the impact of AI, and the company says it's only expanded the economic researchers' team scope. Now, essentially what they're saying here is that OpenAI is essentially emphasizing productivity gains while actually downplaying the job losses, framing disruption as temporary or manageable. And it's avoid publishing the research that could fuel regulation, spark public backlash, and slow adoption. So, this is crazy. This is genuinely crazy because if OpenAI is a fully transparent company, they're supposed to be publishing that research. But as soon as that research becomes against their best interest, they're just simply not talking about it. And you have to understand why this is so important, because just because something is in your best interest, it doesn't mean that you don't reveal that information. And I'm going to show you guys how other companies have taken a different approach and why this just looks terrible for OpenAI. So you have to understand that, this isn't just a, small situation. This situation got to the point where people got so frustrated, at least 2 employees working on the economic research team quit entirely. Now think about that, guys.
In order for you to quit a company like OpenAI, where they're probably paying you a very decent salary, there is probably some sort of stock compensation, and the company has been growing in valuation. In order for you to walk away from that, that has to be a pretty ethical reason. Most people don't walk away from a heavy 6-figure salary or a really high salary for a good reason. Which means that, what did those reports say? What did those reports have in them to the point where they weren't being published and those researchers have decided to simply quit? I think that extent shows a clear breaking point, because we've seen this pattern before that I will talk about later. And honestly, those points where OpenAI employees quit have been key moments where key things have happened inside the company. So you can see one of these employees was an economics researcher, and in his final parting message shared internally, he wrote that the economic research team was veering away from doing real research and instead acting like its employer's propaganda. And I mean, that is terrible. Are we reaching the point now where when OpenAI publishes a research report on the economy or even AI adoption, we can no longer trust it because those researchers that are hired by OpenAI are clearly having some kind of incentive to sort of nudge that research in a way that favors OpenAI's position? That is, of course, unethical. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that that's probably what OpenAI may have subtly asked those individuals to do. And that's probably why they felt the need to quit. I mean, why else do you quit this if you aren't being asked to act like the propaganda arm in this situation? Honestly, that's the only thing that makes sense to me.
So, this entire article is kind of showing me that OpenAI is realizing just how bad AI could be for the economy in various scenarios. But, of course, they're just simply not choosing to publish that research because it's going to damage their public image even further. So, rather than be transparent, they're choosing to simply hide that research. Now, the crazy thing about this is that it doesn't seem like OpenAI are building solutions. One of the research, OpenAI's chief strategy officer actually sent a memo saying that the company should be building solutions and not just publishing research on hard subjects. Says that my point of view on hard subjects is not that we shouldn't talk about them. Kwan wrote, rather, because we are not just a research institution, but also an actor in the world. The leading actor, in fact, that puts the subject of AI into the world, and we are expected to take our agency for those outcomes. And that is very true. OpenAI shouldn't just be publishing the research. They should be pioneering the field on how you actually implement AI in a way that is actually beneficial for society. Now remember guys, AI doesn't have to be bad for economy, for society. It can be implemented in a way that is actually good for society. Right now, we're just simply taking the reckless path. Now, if you're actually wondering what OpenAI are actually doing, I found this document, which is called AI at Work. OpenAI's Workforce Blueprint. Now, basically, this is a document that understands that AI will increasingly reshape work over time. And this is some of I guess you could say their plan to sort of implement AI into the workforce in a way that is somewhat transformative and not just replacing everyone. You can see here it says that if these trends accelerate quickly, they could push the first rung of a ladder out of reach for many new graduates at a faster rate than new jobs are created, requiring a strong response from companies and governments. Companies and governments. Well, governments are probably lobbied by the AI companies anyways. And so they talk about what that response looks like. It begins with accelerating AI education and training efforts, so the new graduates and the rest of the workforce would be better prepared for what's coming next. Now, I don't want this video to be a complete downer on OpenAI, although not publishing the research is absolutely terrible. They do say that, 2 million Americans already have engaged with the OpenAI Academy platform through OpenAI certifications. They're going to help 10 million Americans improve their AI skills by 2030 and give their employers the confidence they need to hire with trust. And through the OpenAI Jobs platform, they're going to help future-proof the workforce by giving millions of people a path, stability, and growth through better jobs and long-term security. The only thing I do have to say is I hope that they actually live up to these expectations, provided that even if their company is still struggling. Because these AI implications are clearly coming. Now, it's important to note that this isn't the only time people have left OpenAI. Like I spoke about in the beginning, there have been several different times that people have left OpenAI for various different reasons. I mean, people have left for various different ethical reasons. Someone left the super alignment team, basically saying that, OpenAI just focused on shiny products instead of actually focusing on safety. Then, of course, someone else also left, and another researcher, Miles Brundage, left basically saying that he wanted to publish his own research that OpenAI weren't going to publish. And one of the things I found interesting, remember how in the beginning I spoke about the fact that OpenAI doesn't want to publish research because, of course, it's not in their best interest. But it's so different, the fact that a company like Anthropic, their CEO, is, completely open in stating that, look, AI job loss is going to be real and we need to be prepared for it, in the sense that at least those white-collar jobs, 50 to 60% of those are going to be gone within the next 1 to 5 years because AI is already exceeding the average human at those tasks. So I think that contrast is stark because it just shows a level of a transparency, which is just going to lead more people to want to use Anthropic's products and just trust them more. Because if they can actually say the truth of what's going on and not hide the studies and not shelter away from the reality, it just doesn't look good for OpenAI.